Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today I want to talk about lamps. In a world dominated by chandeliers, pendants, and recessed lighting, lamps need to be back on your radar. Even for the modern aesthetic, which can tend to be very minimalistic and also have kind of a cold undertone vibe to the space because it's so sparse, you really need to still incorporate some type of a lamp feature within that room because it adds that element of warmth. It could be a floor-based lamp too, so that's the most important part, is to incorporate some type of a lamp feature within that room, even if you're modern aesthetic. Lamps bring, like as I said, a really cozy aspect to the room. One of the main concerns people have with lamps is getting the right size with a lamp. And so the one thing that you must keep in mind across the board, no matter where you're placing this lamp, next to a bed, on a bedside table, or next to a sofa, chair, doesn't matter, the eye level, the shade needs to be at eye level. So the bottom of the shade, that's the bottom of the shade, needs to be at eye level. And that's how you know whether or not the lamp is in the right proportion to the space that you are placing it at. And don't also be one of those things where you found a lamp and now you're going to search for the space to put it in. It should actually be the reverse. You have the space and now you have to search for the lamp, that right lamp that goes in that spot. So whenever you're trying to create balance and symmetry in a space, whether you're working end table situation or on a nightstand situation, most people do tend to go symmetrical on this type of lamp presentation. Number one, it's the easiest. But first I want to classify the standpoint of, even if they're symmetrical, the lamps are the same on both sides. They have to be at the same level. So some people will go ahead and do a asymmetrical table presentation, whether it's a end table or a nightstand presentation, and then do different heights on that. And then that eschews the height of the lamp. It doesn't have to be exact, but it really does need to read eye level, same standpoint across the board on both ends. So no matter if the tables are asymmetrical on either the nightstands or the end tables, your lamps must be approximately the same height. That's the way it reads in a more balanced standpoint. So as I stated, you must have your shade at eye level, the bottom of the shade at eye level, and you also must have a symmetrical height going on if you're using two of the same lamps on either side of a specific area, whether it be a bed or a sofa. Now, if you're going with an asymmetrical presentation, yes, of course they can be at different heights. And yes, each element that they're placed on could be different, because that's the beauty of doing an asymmetrical presentation. And this is where it gets tricky. Not everybody does it correctly. My best advice to remember across the board, if you love an asymmetrical presentation, is because 10 to 1, your table heights are probably not going to be the same, because I myself, I'm really into that, that mixed up vibe myself. So more of an eclectic vibe. So that's where you need to maybe use something that's a little bit different. So on one side, you can do a ceramic base or a vintage, vibe. And then other side, another really easy concept to incorporate that pretty much goes with everything is to use a pharmacy lamp. And I tend to use floor-based ones. I will use a tabletop pharmacy lamp to coordinate with a ceramic-based lamp on the other side. I just think that those two, they juxtaposition beautifully together. And it doesn't matter what metal finish you're using, whether it's a bronze, a black, a chrome, even a gold tone. It doesn't even matter. The bottom line is there's something about the lines, the fluidity of the lines of a pharmacy lamp versus trying to match, or not match, in this case, asymmetrical, complement or coordinate. Another one of my favorite tactics too is to layer the lamps. That's one of my favorite things to do too. I might sometimes even do 2 lamps that absolutely coordinate with one another, and then do, since we're on the same vibe of talking about a pharmacy lamp, and then do a pharmacy floor-based lamp right behind it, just to break up the monotony and just to, have another layer and just to create some interest. I'm really big into repurposing, reusing, and restyling. So some of my favorite hacks when I'm working with lamps that I kind of want to recycle is that I will absolutely, number one, change the shade. That is number one. I usually love to go into a black drum, either with a gold liner or a silver liner, doesn't really matter. It can even be a white inner liner, it doesn't matter. But for some reason, anytime I take an older lamp and put a black drum on it, it really ups the vibe on it, and it just really modernizes that whole aesthetic. I just love that, kind of repurposing that whole look to begin with. I think that's awesome. And for those who are kind of heavy into the DIY, hit up your Goodwills for repurposing chandeliers. Take some of those old builder grade gold chandeliers and bring them home, spray them out, either black, chrome, doesn't matter, and do those little individual black little drum shades that clip on to the bulb. Those can be found at Ballard.coms. I'll link a connection to that in the description box below. So those are just some really great ways to level up on your current, or if they're current, or just repurposing old pieces, or if you're really into going out to the Goodwills, or if you found something on Facebook page that you want to bring home and repurpose, that's the perfect way to do it. Plus, also remember too, when you're in a house that has a lot of builder grade elements, try to replace those elements, because those really do look tired after so many years. It has a very basic look. And, the number one, that a lot of people don't like are the boob lights. It's dated, and there's just so many fun and, kind of really reasonably priced lamps, ceiling fixtures that you can replace those with. Some of my favorite aspects to remember for why lamps are so important are, number one, they're there to accentuate a feature, to create interest, and to create an atmosphere. And last but not least is to create a color and texture play within that room. So really, lamps are so beneficial, not only from the standpoint of creating that atmosphere, like I said, but they're there to accentuate and to create interest. Some of my favorite spots to put lamps are those more obscure areas that people just don't think of. The classics are usually the end tables, the nightstands, placing one on the floor adjacent to one of those aspects, a chair. But some of my number one areas to place lamps are, first of all, in the kitchen. I love a lamp in the kitchen, and believe it or not, I even love a lamp on an island. Yes. This to me creates such an ambiance of warmth and coziness, because remember, cozy is my safe word. And not only that, if you're not really into the whole, placing the lamp on an island because of the, probably because it's a high traffic area, consider placing one in a corner of the kitchen. So in other words, where the two counters connect. That's my other favorite area to put it in. So kitchen is number one. And number two is powder rooms. Yes. Now, obviously, you're going to have a powder room that is going to be large enough to have an area where it can hold a small lamp, an accent lamp. Either the counters are large enough, or the space is large enough to either have one on, not only on the counter, but do a separate individual presentation, perhaps on a little end table or a side table placed into a powder room area. And then in the hallways, I love them, of course, in foyers. It's always that warm ambiance when you walk through the door. And then last but not least is shelves. Yes, I love a lamp placed tucked into a shelf. Now, sometimes you have to be careful with the cording and all that involved, and there's ways that you can attach it to the side of the shelving unit if there's no back on it, and just run it down the wood liner, inside liner of the shelf with, trying to be, little discreet, because I think it's really a cool effect. I just love it. And just because I always like to give a couple shopping sources, to tell you some about my favorite areas to go and hunt for it. Make sure you go to GailStudio.com and hit the header bar where it says Amazon favorites. And then scroll down and you'll see some of my #1 picks from Amazon. There's a lot of great selections there, great pricing. And of course, Wayfair, All Modern. For my brick and mortars, I will hit up TJ Maxx. And then for those who want to go and kind of like the scavenger hunt, absolutely Facebook Marketplace and Goodwill. So besides the fact that lamps are really there, as I said, for a task, a mood, or an accent within the room, they're really there to help really cozy up the environment and to bring warmth and have it be inviting to that space. Please don't forget how important it is to incorporate lamps into your space today. And also don't forget to like and subscribe because that really is what keeps this channel going. It keeps us in front of the algorithms. And don't forget to also click on some of these videos here. These videos are some great suggestions for you to keep that narrative going on continuing to level up on your space. And with that, we'll talk to you soon.